Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, khushamdi, ji ayanu, khuyamorikha, pakhair ragale, washmale, chunishume. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Well This Morning, which is a Hashmi today on such a beautiful and pleasant morning. It's beautiful over here in the Twin Cities because it always is. And well, it is usually almost raining every day over here. But the worst part is, whenever I wake up, the rain is always over. And for a person like me who happens to absolutely love rainy weather, well, this is sort of a sad note to start the day with. But other than that, I really hope the entire day goes absolutely perfect for all of the viewers of Well This Morning. We are right now airing in more than 46 countries in the world. So, well, welcome to everyone who is on board for right now. So today is very important for Pakistanis, especially because today onward, we are sort of entering the new normal. A lot of restrictions or a lot of, where places were smartly locked down because of the pandemic going on as well. The restrictions are going to be lifted, but not all of them. So please be careful. While, a lot of things are going to be open in terms of business establishments and, markets and whatnot, some educational institutions, but that in the later month too. We need to be careful because we're just opening it for the betterment of the economy. And so, of course, maybe we can probably move a step towards, closer towards herd immunity as well. But as individuals and as citizens of Pakistan, I feel like along with the state, this is our responsibility to make sure that we curtail the pandemic, that this does not grow any further. And, we don't get together in large gatherings and we make sure to wear masks even if we go out now that, lockdowns are being lifted and restrictions are being lifted as well. Just make sure, please, to abide by all the SOPs that have been put out by the state, the government as well. And I think we will be good to go, inshallah. We are moving into the new normal and this is going to be better than the past few months that have been so sad in the year 2020 as well. But ladies and gentlemen, don't want to start, my entire day on this note too. Positive vibes are something we need to take forward for the entire day. So one thing that we can do early in the morning is probably surround ourselves with people and probably talk to people that make us feel good or that make us feel happy. For example, in my case, it's my mom. And whenever I do wake up right after my show, because I don't want to wake up early in the morning around 6 or 7. So right after my show, I call my mom. She's the first person I talk to on phone. She lives miles away. She's in Multan and I'm in Islamabad. So that is something that brings a very good and a positive vibe to my day as well. So, I'm pretty sure it's very different for different people as well. So find your thing, find your positive thing, your happy thing, go by it, and I think your day is going to be great. Release your mind of the stresses that you may be carrying of the, previous day as well. It's a burden. Overthinking is a burden. If something is destined to happen, it will happen anyway. So probably, change your perception towards it in a more positive way. Things will work out well, inshallah. So what are we talking about today? We have, well, of course, different, sort of discussions that we will be having today, different segments too. But one thing is for sure that no matter what sect we belong to, no matter what segment of the society we belong to, what area we belong to, we have all been hit by the pandemic really bad, and in all countries of the world, not only in Pakistan. The better part, although, about Pakistan is that we have been, sort of been dealing with this in a better way as we were expected to. And we're not even in the first 10 countries in the entire world who were really badly hit by this pandemic as well. We are sort of recovering very fast. We were expecting a second wave. That did not happen yet. And inshallah, it won't happen in the future too. But a lot of things were disrupted. And, like I already mentioned, businesses were off, shops were closed and everything. Only groceries, the pharmacies were open because, of course, essential services. But now when we talk about those things, especially let's talk about the 64% youth of Pakistan, most of them which are students. Now some belonging to, of course, middle school, high school, and some even doing their PhDs and some even doing their bachelor's degrees and masters. So basically all sorts of life were disrupted. But the universities and the educational institutions actually took one very good decision, and that was not to put the classes on hold. Of course, there have been different ways to deal with, classes as well. Some moved online, some have been giving out, worksheets and whatnot through their WhatsApp groups and everything. There have been different ways. And today we are sort of going to talk about that, how universities in particular, and how different departments of the state, of course, and, different departments of within the civil community as well, have been dealing with the pandemic, have been working together in the pandemic and now are coming out of it. And to discuss that, of course, like always, we have a very apt panel of guests over here in the studio. To begin with, we have the Vice Chancellor of the FAST University, Islamabad, who's none other than Professor Dr. Ayub Ali. Assalamu alaikum, sir. Welcome to our show.
Wa alaikum salam ji. Thank you for inviting me on this show.
It's our pleasure, absolutely, sir. And you know, whenever I was reading the accolades to your name, mashallah, they were so long. Of course, I mean, we will definitely be discussing them, but it is our pride to have you over here. It's our pleasure, absolutely, sir. Thank you for coming. And moving on, we have a lead trainer. We have a social activist. She's none other than Miss Alia Sayed. Hello, assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the show.
Wa alaikum assalam, and thank you very much for having me on this show.
It's my pleasure, ma'am. So I think, Dr. Ayub, I'm going to be beginning with you, being the Vice Chancellor of the FAST University. Now, this happens to be one of the biggest universities of Pakistan, and hundreds of thousands of students, a lot of friends that I know even happen to, you know, be studying at the FAST University. First things first, did you guys stop your classes or did you immediately move online?
Well, FAST University has 5 campuses in Pakistan.
Yes.
When the pandemic struck Pakistan, the Karachi campus immediately went online.
Oh.
And the remaining 4 campuses went online within a week.
Oh, that's fast.
Yeah.
Pun intended.
That's right. So the pandemic hit us around mid of March. So within 1 week, all 5 campuses were online.
Right.
Our faculty was not trained for this kind of thing, obviously. So there was a learning curve for us.
Okay.
But since it's basically an IT-related university, therefore the learning curve was pretty steep for us.
Okay.
And we, I think, started teaching in a normal manner within a couple of weeks.
All right.
Of course, there were complaints from some students because students had various kinds of problems. For example, load shedding is one issue.
Oh, of course.
In the middle of a lecture, if the electricity goes off, you are disconnected. Secondly, internet disconnectivity. That was also a problem in certain areas, especially in small towns and villages. And the third was availability of mobile phones or computers in their home.
Okay.
For example, if in a home there are 4 children and they are all involved in online education, then they must have 4 laptops. Not every home can afford 4 laptops for their 4 children. And even if they have to be in separate rooms, isolated from each other.
Right.
They can't sit next to each other because then there will be a lot of disturbance.
And to have that sort of bandwidth to actually have the internet for all 4 of them as well.
That's right. Bandwidth is the next issue.
Right.
So there were all kinds of issues. And we were facing with these issues through emails and calls. And we were tackling these issues.
Okay.
But as you know, we cannot deal with load shedding. We cannot deal with internet disruption. So all the lectures were recorded.
Okay.
And we informed the students that after the lecture is over, it will be available on our website. They can go to the website at a time convenient to them and then listen to the lecture.
Right.
So, and moreover, if somebody had attended the online lecture, he or she could he could go through the same lecture at a time convenient to him or her.
Right.
So that was also possible. So
now
that was the easiest part of online education, by the way.
This was the easiest?
This was the easiest part.
And you know, in talking
the
of
toughest part was when the semester was concluded and now we had to conduct exams.
Oh, how did you do
that
it?
was a big problem. So we looked at various options, but calling students to the campus was out of question.
Of course.
And we couldn't rely on the integrity of students while attempting the exams. So we had to find various ways. And so one of the ways was to have a very long exam and give them a limited amount of time.
Oh.
So that they couldn't go around and get answers from here and there.
This
so
happened
that was
with me in my final exam. Is this a strategy? I'm just realizing. Okay, move on.
It is a strategy. It is a strategy. That's right.
Okay.
So that was one strategy. And we also asked all the students to switch on their cameras on their mobile phones or on their laptops throughout.
Okay.
So now I agree that it is not possible to scan all the 50 students, and because on the screen of the teacher, where the screen is about 15 to 20 inches, and each student would occupy maybe 1 square inches.
Right.
And looking at that and seeing what's going on is difficult.
Absolutely.
So that was just a pressure on the student that somebody is watching them, although we could not do much about it. And when the results were available, we gave students an option that they could either go for a pass-fail option or for the normal letter grade.
Okay.
And I think majority of the students opted for pass-fail because they were not sure what sort of exam it would be and what would be their performance. So they said that, but just give us a pass-fail grade and that's it.
All right, that's brilliant as well. And I just realized that actually, while we as students, students always have this sort of tendency to think, oh, we're so smart, we always have a way out. And I'm just realizing actually our teachers are teachers for a reason. They know a lot more than we do as well. So I have so many other questions on, when you shifted the curriculum online as well. We will definitely get to that. But Miss Alia, you happen to be the country director for EPIC as well. If I'm not wrong, please correct me.
Yeah, I'm one of the directors.
One of the directors. Okay, that's brilliant. And that is, so it works towards supporting the environment and, sort of a more integrative effort in, with education and environment on its own. How was that impacted by the pandemic? First question, then we can move on.
Okay, basically this is the 7th new focused area of Rotary International.
Right.
Before this year, before this pandemic, we were working on 6 focused area that includes education, health and all other areas, peace building. And environment has recently been added because we have realized that without working and improving our environment, we cannot actually progress and show good results in other focused area as well.
That is so true.
Yeah, because we need to improve our environment in all terms.
Right. So, Ms. Alia, I think you are the really right person over here if I ask this. So, when we talk about the pandemic, for at least 2 to 3 months straight, all around the globe, the lockdown was really strict, right? Yeah. So, did we actually give a break to Earth to breathe as well? Were things recovering in terms of the environment? I mean, there were, a funny thing actually though, the internet is full of memes, which are of course, jokes and funny posts as well. And, people were talking about how wild dolphins were actually coming out in Venice as well. A lot of, species were coming back to the world, which is not possible, but it was one of the, I want to say, notions that people were promoting, that Earth is now breathing, now that we are locked inside our home. Did that impact, us being locked inside the environment?
Yes, definitely. And it has a very positive effect on environment basically, because this is very true that we human beings, we tend to litter a place. We were just having the discussion the other day and we were discussing it that people when they visit any of the beautiful areas, suppose we were discussing Kagan and Naran and other places, that there is a lot of litter. Those of us who have visited us a few years back and they are visiting it now, there's a huge difference. There's very much plantation, the forests are not that dense and the water is getting litter because that litter has been taken along with the human beings.
And that's so unfortunate.
This is really unfortunate, but actually we need to have a massive awareness campaign.
Absolutely.
And Rotary would definitely work on those lines to improve environment.
All right, that's great. So we definitely, Ms. Alia, need to talk about some of the project, especially in terms of the, improving the environment of Pakistans. We'll get to that. But Dr. Ayub, when we talk about, awareness campaigns, it does not happen overnight. You definitely have to inculcate this type of stuff in your curriculum for the students to learn, grow up learning those things and then to, be able to practice and implement that too. So in the pandemic, a lot of universities were sort of introducing diplomas or, something interesting, not probably, bound to the curriculum, but something interesting for them to study and to learn from. So what were some of the new things that FAST University introduced, especially in this pandemic?
Well, to be honest, we did not introduce anything new.
Okay.
In fact, let's go back a little bit. Online education is new.
Yeah.
It arrived without any notice.
Yeah.
I feel that most of the students are not very serious about their studies.
Online?
Most of the students. No.
Otherwise?
Even otherwise as well. That's the problem. When you have students in the classroom, first of all, we enforce them that they must have a minimum attendance in the classroom in order to qualify to take the final exam.
Right.
So they are forced in a way to come to the classroom. And while in the classroom, they have to pay attention because they're not allowed to talk to each other. And they have no activity but to look at the teacher.
Right.
So they are forced to learn in the classroom. But when it's online, they are sitting at their own places. And if a student is online, we don't know whether he's actually sitting in front of that machine or he's doing something else.
Right.
Maybe switched on, logged in, and then went away.
Right, right.
So that's a problem that we have. And we notice this in the exams as well. that students haven't learned a lot during the online classes. That's because of the non-seriousness of students.
Okay.
Why is that? I don't know. That's a different topic altogether.
Okay.
But now that the next semester is on, we plan to start classes on 31st of August.
Okay.
And we'll start online for the first 2 weeks. And on 14th or 15th of September, when the government allows, then we will invite students to come to the campus.
Okay.
As far as our new batch is concerned, which is now being admitted these days,
Right.
they will not start online, because that will be ruining the very first contact between the university and the
Right.
students. So we will invite the new students on 15th of September, so that we can start classes face to face and we can make some positive impression on them.
Right. Dr. Ayub, one thing actually, you know, in our first, when we were discussing this before as well, you were mentioning that this was not just hard for students, but actually for teachers as well, you know, to learn the basics of getting online and actually starting to, you know, teach too. This reminds me of a post I came across. It was probably inspired by a true story, if not entirely a true story, of how one of the teachers in their older age was struggling to actually get online and, you know, to get everyone, to get attendance of their mates as well. And then had to, you know, seek help from their younger daughter too, who was just telling him how to be online. Now, it's really easy for someone like me, because I want to say I belong to the tech-savvy generation, so it's really easy for someone like me to say that, how don't you know to get online? It's so easy, just press this and you'll be online. But it's really hard to learn something that you haven't been doing for so long. So did you have a sort of, I want to say, a community-based discussion, or, you know, an inclusive discussion with all the teachers and the board members on how they should learn actually to deal with the online classes?
Yes. The HEC took a very good initiative in the very beginning.
Yeah.
And the chairman HEC was very proactive in this case.
Okay.
He asked all the universities to immediately form an online academic council. So we did that.
Right.
And all the directors of the campuses, heads of departments and senior faculty were members of that online academic council. And we decided early on that this online academic council will meet every Monday at 10 a.m.
All right.
So whether we have any agenda or not, we used to meet at 10 a.m.
Regardless.
Yes. And although we allocated 1 hour for it, it usually went on for 1.5 or even 2 hours.
Okay.
So everybody discussed the problems that they are facing or their colleagues are facing, and then we used to find a collective solution.
Can you quote some of the issues that were really common among, let's say, the board members or the faculty members as well?
Yeah. Well, the very first issue was that the teachers also had the same kind of problem the students were having: load shedding, connectivity.
Right.
So those problems were there. So, and some faculty members said that they did not had a laptop at home or a computer at home because they had one in the university, and now they can't go to the university.
Right.
So I immediately said that just go out, get hold of a computer or a laptop, and we'll reimburse the cost later on.
Okay.
So that they don't.
That's actually really generous, right? That was sort of an incentive for them to go out and do their work as well.
That's right. That's right.
That's really nice.
And then we told them that they should look at the lighting in the room so that the face of the teacher is clearly visible to the students. Because if there's a dark face, then people start to lose interest. And they can't even read the lips, because lip reading is also important in some cases.
To focus, yes.
Yeah, that's right, Ji. So they had to become actors during this session, because they were facing cameras all the time.
Right.
And they also established some communication channels with students through Facebook and some chat groups, so that students can post their problems and then they can respond online or offline.
Okay.
So the teacher also did a lot of learning in these days.
Of course. So basically, this entire procedure, I want to say this entire tenure of the pandemic has been a learning phase for each and every single person on the globe, regardless of, you know, what sect they belong to or what age group they belong to or what they're doing as well. And we are in this together. We always keep saying that. Do not forget that. We stand united in this. But Miss Alia, you know, in terms of, you mentioned that there are a lot of projects going on, not under just EPIC, but under all the 7 or 8, you know, phases that you identified as well. So did your work move online? Because of course, I mean, there were no gatherings in terms of meeting, and there was no field work going on as well either.
Yes,
so what changes were made to your work?
Yes, actually you see that we went online immediately.
Okay.
Most of the
You were ready for that?
We were not ready for that, but we have to adapt. Everyone has to adapt actually. And like, I also have a lot of friends who are teaching, and I'm also taking a lot of online courses. And I see a very positive and bright side of that.
Really?
In terms, like you see that our whatever we were doing, it was like really obsolete way of learning. And this has actually forced us to move into a new medium.
That's true,
and
actually.
you see, it is saving a lot of energy. As you mentioned earlier, this is a new normal.
Yes.
And we have to get used to it. Anybody of us who thinks that the things will go back to that old point, it won't happen.
It won't happen. That's so true.
So you see, those who are taking the hurdles seriously are those who are thinking that these are temporary things and then the COVID would be over and everything would be back to the old time. No, the old times have gone. All of us have to adapt and bring in the new strategies. We need to go online, and I myself are doing so many online courses, and I'm very happy to do that because they are free of cost.
Okay.
If you search
many
of them, it is saving a lot of energy. I'm doing it straight sitting in my room. And yes, there are some of the etiquettes and some of the things that we need to learn. Like as a student, he's talking about actually the teacher perspective. So I would like to take the other side.
Yes, please.
Like as a student, actually, they need to have a learning space. It's not that they are having their laptop on their knees and they are trying to balance it, and because it would seriously distract them and it would hurdle their actually whatever they are learning at that time. They need at least to have a table and a chair. They need to sit properly. They need to like eat and drink and whatever they want to do at home. The learning time should be devoted just for learning. And they have to keep themselves away from social media at that time. There is so much of learning and there is so much of fun. I had just completed a course yesterday, and there were almost apart from all the SAARC countries, there were students from Algeria, and we listened to such marvelous and great speakers from different corners of the world. There's so much of learning, and we really enjoyed that.
But you know, Ms. Alia, while that is really brilliant, now I'm going to speak on behalf of all the, you know, let's say high school going or university going students as well. I think you were really right in saying that the focus may get distracted when you are, you know, just using your laptop, and you both will agree with me. You know, for a student who has been to classes, you know, in all his life, physical classes, you know, sitting with his group of friends and everything, it was really different for him to take classes online as well. One tab, we have Facebook on one tab, the other tab is Twitter open, the other tab is Instagram open, and then one tab is the Zoom call where they're talking to the teacher. So imagine that, you know, diverted attention is all in all those spaces as well. There is no seriousness. And then the worst part for me, which I personally felt along with a lot of other people, was, you know, we were really lethargic in sort of, you know, getting the mindset on or getting, let's say, dressed up for the class. We were literally attending our classes in our PJs, in our beds, so probably, you know, with the focus was a little compromised as well. So if this is going to be the new normal, of course there will be physical classes, but what if a lot of them are still online? How do you think we can actually get that kind of result from online classes as compared to the physical ones? Or can we at all?
It's difficult. It's really difficult.
Yeah.
Because when we are delivering a lecture online, the biggest problem is the bandwidth. If all the students switch on their cameras, then bandwidth will become an even greater issue. So the very first thing that the teacher does is ask all the students to switch off their cameras. So once the cameras are switched off, then we cannot see what sort of dress the student is wearing. We don't want to see that,
of course,
because we want to transmit the video of the teacher. That's more important.
Okay, got it.
So it's only the teacher who is visible on the screen, so he has to dress up, of course.
Right, to look formal at least.
That's right.
Got it.
He can't come in a vest and something like that. So
okay, got it.
That's an important thing. But I should also add another thing, that as soon as this pandemic started, we started advising the students to go online and check free online courses which are available, excellently recorded by, let's say, Coursera, edX, and many other companies, and these courses were available free of charge.
Right.
We
Which
also
is a great initiative.
Yeah, we also registered with the Coursera and edX, and they provided all of their courses free of cost to our students.
Wow.
So that was a big resource for students. it is not possible for me to tell you what percentage of students actually benefited from those lectures.
I'm sure a lot of them.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But you asked me earlier what was the problem which we faced during online education. The biggest problem was faced by sciences and humanities teachers.
Okay, how so?
For example, if there's a math teacher, he wants to derive an equation on the blackboard.
Oh,
how can he do
imagine
that?
that.
Yeah. So that was a nightmare.
Right.
So for such courses, we advise that students should go online and look at the lectures which are already there, recorded by eminent people in an excellent manner. So that could help. That could supplement what the teacher is trying to teach them online.
Right, that's brilliant, Dr. Ayub. Actually, you know, this is something that we need to sort of, you know, come at par with. We need to accept this again as the new normal. But while also I think this is a great thing that finally, inshallah, next month we are opening universities and schools as well. I really hope we get back on our feet in terms of, you know, as a nation and as a community of students too, who have been taking a very long summer break. Actually, I want to say this is actually the longest I have seen students, you know, be away from school as well. But we really need to wrap this segment up as well. So Miss Alia, towards the end of this segment, I want you to give out a message to everyone watching in terms of how well they need to deal with the pandemic, you know, sort of restricting their lives and now entering into the new normal. This is your camera. Please go ahead.
I think that's a great time, and there are a lot of positivities apart from, like, we lost many people's lives and many people have lost their jobs. But at the same time, it has provided us to look at our lives from a different angle, and we become more conscious about our health. We realize more the value of going to the schools and colleges and going physically and interacting and connecting with people. We realize that we need to be more careful regarding our diet, have to eat, take more nutritious diet, and we need to go for better plantation, clean our environment, and we have to work together. This is a new normal, and we need to adopt new habits. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for saying that, and thank you so much for being here, especially early in the morning. Professor Dr. Ayub Alvi, who happens to be the Vice Chancellor of FAST University Islamabad, and Miss Alia Sayed. Thank you so much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I actually want to further the note where Miss Alia said that we need to adopt to the new habits in terms of, you know, improving our lifestyle, you know, improving our nutrition as well. This is something really important, regardless of the fact that even if we are in the pandemic or not, because when we talk about our physical and mental health, we have to really take a holistic approach towards that. And for that, I think I need to be in conversation with an expert, rather, a nutritionist. So for that, I really have to head out to a short break. When we come back, we will have this nutritionist over here in the studio. Stay tuned to find out what we will be talking about. Good morning. Welcome back to Well This Morning, ladies and gentlemen, which is Hashmi today on yet another informative episode. Well, I love learning along with you guys, especially in the morning. And I don't know if you will agree with me, but I feel like especially right after breakfast, early in the morning, right after my coffee as well, my brain is receptive to a lot of new ideas and information. So what do we need to talk about right now? Unfortunately, we sort of missed out on one very important thing. Rather, let's say we saved it for this particular day to talk about as well. Last week, from the 1st to the 7th of August, internationally, World Breastfeeding Week was being observed. Why is this so important, and why is it absolutely necessary to actually dedicate not one, but an entire week to this particular cause? And why do we need to educate people about it? Something we shall be talking about. Without further ado, very quickly, I have one of my favorite nutritionists over here in the studio, Fatima Khan. Hello, assalamu alaikum, welcome back.
Walaikum assalam. How are you, Shiza?
I'm doing great. What about you?
Alhamdulillah.
So Fatma, we have you here on a Monday especially so that you can wrap up the entire last week for us in terms of, breastfeeding. So first things first, why do we celebrate an entire week for it? And then we can, of course, come to some specific questions.
So World Breastfeeding Week is celebrated all over the world from the 1st to the 7th of August, and it's basically observed so that we can raise awareness regarding breastfeeding, the importance of breastfeeding, and so that we can help achieve the World Health Assembly targets across the world, and so that people realize how important it is to actually breastfeed your child instead of giving them some other formulas.
Right, absolutely. So when you say that it is really important, for mothers actually to breastfeed their children, well, this is something, of course, in theory we do understand. But being a nutritionist, do let us know, what about the nutrients? Are we missing out on something? What if the mother does not by will want to breastfeed the child? Or what if there are some, medical probably complications as well?
So, naturally, all mothers can breastfeed. Any mother who's given birth to a baby, might as well it be a C-section or a normal delivery. Allah has made it like this, that the woman will be able to breastfeed their baby, regardless of any of the problems that people say that they face. Some people might find it difficult and they might need lactation counselors, or they can always consult their doctors, but there's no as such excuse to say that you can't nurse your baby once they're born. And whereas the benefits are concerned, there are different benefits in it for the mother and for the baby. So if I talk about what benefits are there in this for the baby, then breast milk is supposed to be the most superior form of nutrition for the child. And there's nothing that in this world that can actually compare to it or come equal to it, because breast milk suffices for everything that the child needs in that duration of his or her life.
Got it. Okay.
So, so first come first, we basically in Pakistan, less than 50% of women breastfeed their babies.
That's not a good number.
Yes, and the World Health Assembly targets are 50%. At least 50% of the babies should be exclusively breastfed and should be breastfed within the first hour of birth. So
what is exclusive breastfeeding? Add to that as well.
I'll just add to that. Exclusive breastfeeding is that from the minute the child is born till 6 months of the baby's age, the baby should just be fed milk, and in that window the child does not even require water or any other additional liquid or solid food. And breast milk suffices for all of its daily requirements. So exclusively breastfeeding means giving your child nothing else except for breast milk.
Okay, got it. So for the first 6 months, it is literally just breast milk. And how long should the breastfeeding go on for? Is it just for those 6 months, or should it be at least 2 years or something?
Yeah, so it's also in the Quran. A mother should breastfeed their child for at least 2 years.
Right.
And they should complete the 2-year time frame. And it also helps you create a space. It helps you create birth spacing, and helps the mother recover physically, because after giving birth and after breastfeeding your child, you lose a lot of nutrients because everything is lost from your body. So it takes time for the woman to revive physically and also mentally for a lot of women who go through postpartum depression. So 2 years you should breastfeed your baby, and do not end before that. So exclusively breastfeed for 6 months and continue breastfeeding for 2 years. And after 6 months you start complementary feeding, which means that after 6 months you can start adding additional foods to your baby's diet.
Right, got it. Okay, one more thing, Fatma, and I think you, of course, being the expert over here, can explain it better to me. There was something that I read, and I think we discussed just a while ago as well, that the act of breastfeeding is while of course the job of the mother, it is sort of a partner's responsibility as well to engage in it. How can we do that?
In Pakistan, there are a lot of, the problem is that when a mother is making the decision of breastfeeding their child, it's not just the mother who decides, it's the mother-in-law, the father-in-law, the mother of the girl.
Entire family.
The entire family is actually playing a part in this decision. And a lot of partners are actually not supportive of the fact that their wives should breastfeed their babies or their newborns.
Right.
I would personally recommend people to not, you know, practice or have such thoughts where they think that it'll affect the woman's physique or, you know, she'd go out of shape.
Does it though?
No, it doesn't. It actually helps you stay in shape. It helps you stay fit. And for mothers who've actually gained weight during pregnancy, I tell them that as a nutritionist, that when you're breastfeeding your baby, you actually lose weight faster.
Oh.
So because you're actually, your baby's taking out a lot from you through your breast milk. So you're basically losing weight. That's also where you're losing weight. So that's just a myth where you feel like your body shape will go out of proportion. It actually helps you stay
Thank you so much
shape.
for sort of correcting that misconception as well, because a lot of households actually do believe in that, that, you know, right after giving birth, if you start breastfeeding, you may, you know, lose your physique or the form that you were in, which is wrong. We just had the expert's opinion. But Fatma, we cannot ignore the fact that we have unfortunately been dealing with the pandemic over here. A lot of course, mothers have been dealing through the pandemic while being pregnant, while bearing another human life as well. I cannot just imagine how hard must it be for them. So what if, God forbid, the mother who has just given birth or is about to give birth is COVID positive? Should she be breastfeeding?
That's a very good question, Shiza. Thank you for putting that up. Basically, a lot of women have been expectant mothers in this pandemic, especially during the lockdown, and a lot of women are just about to deliver September, October. There's going to be like a baby boom. So if the mother has COVID symptoms, if she's COVID positive, if she's been tested positive, she can breastfeed her baby.
Okay.
The virus will not be transmitted through the breast milk.
Oh. Wow.
The mother just needs to make sure that she's wearing a mask.
Okay.
She washes her hands with soap and water prior to breastfeeding her baby and after also, and that she wears clean clothes. She's hygienically clean. Otherwise, when she's performing breastfeeding, she will not transfer the virus to her baby. So please do not think that if you are COVID positive, do not isolate your babies from yourselves.
Of course.
Because newborns are supposed to be kept very close to you. Also, let me just add here that breast milk helps you fight infections that you generally face in your life. In Pakistan, in infants, there's a very high infant mortality rate because of a lot of infectious diseases like diarrhea, pneumonia, asthma, etc. Breast milk basically has leukocytes, which are white blood cells, living active organisms, which are present in the breast milk and cannot be added to any infant formula, cow milk or Tetra Pak.
Okay.
And they're only given to your baby through your breast milk, which is why you should make sure that you breastfeed to actually increase your baby's immunity. So you know how we adults, we can take supplements, we can eat well, exercise, we do a ton of things to keep our immunity high.
Right.
But for the baby, for the newborn, the infant, the only way for him or her to keep the immunity high is to give them breast milk exclusively for 6 months.
That is just brilliant, and I think first of all, thank you so much for informing us that no matter if you are even COVID positive, symptomatic or asymptomatic, and if you just gave birth, it is totally okay for you to feed your child as long as, of course, you're wearing a mask. Through your breast milk, the virus, you said, will not transfer, but of course there are chances through your, of course, spit particles or even, through other ways as well. So it is safe for you to breastfeed your child right after, birthing it as well. Now, Fatma, towards the end, I want you, being a nutritionist, of course, to give out a message to all the mothers, not just, of newborn babies, but of toddlers as well, of course, since they are now breastfeeding too, how to deal with them in a better way during the pandemic especially, and how, when we talk about formula milk especially, I know a lot of people who just immediately jump onto it. And, for the first 6 months, it is formula milk, and for the next, it is Cerelac, which is, I want to say, good in some terms, but you can tell me better, no? Okay, wow. This is your camera. Speak to them, please.
So first of all, I am extremely against infant formulas, and world breastfeeding laws do not support infant formulas. However, in Pakistan, we do have breastfeeding laws, but there is no implementation whatsoever of those breastfeeding laws. And I would ask all of you to become advocates to breastfeed your babies, because it is the most superior form of nutrition that you can give to your child.
Absolutely.
Please feed your babies within the first hour of giving birth. That is when the colostrum is released, and it is the most nutritious fluid on the planet. It is called liquid gold. It has been declared as liquid gold by UNICEF, and please do not be reckless when it comes to your newborn, because you invest all your life in your children, whether it be financially, in their education, feeding them good food. So I feel like this is one thing that would be the best investment. Your breast milk is the best investment for your baby and for you. It will help protect you and your child, and also protect your child from future diseases like diabetes, obesity, asthma, etc. And it will also help you protect yourself from diseases like ovarian and breast cancer, and to stay healthy, fit, and maintain a good physique. So please eat well and give your baby the best that is available.
Thank you so much, Fatma. Thank you so much for being with us and enlightening us about the previous week as well, the importance of it. Thank you so much for doing that. Ladies and gentlemen, I really hope PTV World, as every day, did its job today as well by being responsible enough to talk about things that do matter. And, you know, for all of the people who are not expecting a baby, or who are not, who do not have a baby at all, this is informative for you, because this is, you have to talk about this to other people, to the people you know, to your aunts, to your sisters, to your friends, anyone who may be having a baby in the future or who just had a baby. Because when you talk about the nutrition of a child, like Fatma, the nutritionist over here, mentioned, this is something so important, especially in the first hour of giving birth. The immunoboosters are really high and the baby needs to get the hold on to them as well. So if you learned anything, do write to us as well. One more thing, we are entering, as I already mentioned, into the new normal. Please be responsible, a very responsible individual and a citizen as well. Make sure to wear your masks even if you do go out. First of all, you should not, but everything is now open, you can. Make sure to abide by the rules as well. Write on our Facebook page with the name of Well This Morning. On Twitter, Well This Morning without a G. Daily Motion on YouTube, it's Well This Morning. And the repeat of this particular show you can catch at 5 past midnight tonight. Till the next time, please take care and good morning.